50% of your listening score depends on one single question type. The other 50 is determined by 3 other types of questions. Do you want to know which? Let me show you my strategy for these questions and you'll be able to immediately apply what you learn in practice. It's Asia. Let's get started. There are 4 parts in IELTS listening. Each consists of 10 questions. I've checked tons of official practice tests and found out that in every one of them, Part 1 and Part 4 questions belong to a single question type, filling the blanks or missing words. Arguably, this is the most important type of questions because 20 out of 40 questions in your test are filling the blanks. How do they look? In IELTS listening, there may be 2 possible wordings. Write one word and or a number for each answer, or just write one word for each answer. Unlike in IELTS reading, in listening you're never required to look for 2 or 3 words. The important question here is, what is actually one word? Can you answer a table? No, these are 2 words. It should be just table, not the rivers, just rivers. Don't include articles in your answers. If an article is needed to make the sentence grammatically correct, it will be written in the question sentence. How about a little practice? Have a look at these questions with me first. So number 1, create a cover for an. What kind of answer are you looking for? Well, we know it's a noun beginning with a vowel sound, like an apple or an umbrella. Number 2, build the tallest. You see, the article the is already there. Number 3, make a. We're looking for a noun beginning with a consonant sound, a table, a university. Now, listen to the recording and find the answers.
Hello, Children's Engineering Workshops.
Oh, hello. I wanted some information about the workshops in the school holidays.
Sure.
I have 2 daughters who are interested. The younger one's Lydia. She's 4. Do you take children as young as that?
Yes, our tiny engineers workshop is for 4 to 5-year-olds.
What sorts of activities do they do?
All sorts. For example, they work together to design a special cover that goes round an egg, so that when it's inside, they can drop it from a height and it doesn't break. Well, sometimes it does break, but that's part of the fun.
Right. And Lydia loves building things. Is there any opportunity for her to do that?
Well, they have a competition to see who can make the highest tower. You'd be amazed how high they can go.
Right.
But they're learning all the time as well as having fun. For example, one thing they do is to design and build a car that's attached to a balloon, and the force of the air in that actually powers the car and makes it move along. They go really fast too.
Okay, well, all this sounds perfect.
The first answer is egg. We're not gonna read the transcript together, but if you wanna read it, go ahead and pause the video now. The other answers are tower and car. Let's continue talking about the answer formats. What if you have a currency or numbers? Have a look at questions number 2 and 9 in this task. I've cut out questions from 3 to 8 if you're wondering where they are. Ready?
So, can you give me an idea of how much this will cost? I've got about 360 photos, I think.
We charge £195 for 300 to 400 photos for the basic service. Any other information I can give you?
How long will it all take?
We aim to get the copying done in 10 days.
Fine. Right, well, I'll get the photos packed up in a box and post them off to you.
The answer to question 2 is £195. But you don't need to write down the currency. If you look carefully, the sign of British pounds is already there right after the question number. Question number 9 is 10 days. Our task allows us to write one word and or a number, so we should include both 10 days. What about the dates? Have a look at this question. The cottage is available for week beginning. Have a listen and write down the answer.
My name's Tom. Some friends of ours rented Granary Cottage from you last year and they thought it was great. So my wife and I are hoping to come in May for a week.
What date did you have in mind?
The week beginning the 14th, if possible.
I'll just check. I'm sorry, Tom, it's already booked that week. It's free the week beginning the 28th, though, for 7 nights. In fact, that's the only time you could have it in May.
Oh.
Okay, it's free the week beginning the 28th of May. You only need to write down 28th. I know you may be thinking, what if I just write 28 without the th? Honestly, I haven't found an official confirmation if this is acceptable. There is only one correct answer provided. So if you have a date, try to write it down with the th to be on the safe side. Next, spelling counts. If you make a typo, this means your answer is incorrect. On the good side, both British and American spelling are acceptable. You may find answers like this. To practice. With a C is American and with an S is British, or color and color with or without the U. Sometimes there are even 2 words, movie and film. Here, the key sentence is, think up an idea for a 5-minute movie and then film it. Although in the recording to film is a verb, both answers are correct. A movie is more American and a film is British. Okay, questions in part 1 are easier because they cover everyday English topics. How do you approach a more scientific monologue or lecture in part form? My first tip is carefully read the questions and highlight keywords. When you see a task like this, pay attention to the title and subtitles. They can tell you what it's all about. They can also help you navigate when you're listening to the recording. You'll hear about the dodo bird, the history, description, and reasons for extinction or why it disappeared. Notice that some points don't contain any questions. They are just following the recording. And the main tip is try to predict the answers. This means you should look at each question and think about what you're looking for. For example, the first point, history, 1507, Portuguese ships transporting what stopped at the island? Any ideas? Or the next, 1638, the Dutch established a what on the island? We know it's a noun beginning with a consonant. What could they establish? Some keywords are repeated while others are paraphrased. Looking at the first 2 questions, what words will be repeated? Well, Portuguese ships. We may hear ships from Portugal, the Dutch. You can't really change these words, so you hear them again. And the years too. Conversely, words like transporting or established can be paraphrased easily, right? To transport is to carry, to be loaded with. To establish is to set up, to found, to begin something. Now look at question 38. We're talking about dodo birds. Their sense of enabled them to find food. What could it be? You may even be able to guess the answer straight away. Now, go ahead, Pause the video and read the questions 31 to 38, carefully highlighting the keywords and trying to predict the answers. We'll skip the last 2 questions to save some time. Ready to hear the recording? Answer questions 31 to 38.
One of the most famous cases of extinction is that of a bird known as the dodo. In fact, there's even a saying in English, as dead as the dodo, used to refer to something which no longer exists. But for many centuries, the dodo was alive and well, although it could only be found in one place, the island of Mauritius in the Indian Ocean. It was a very large bird, about 1 metre tall, and over the centuries it had lost the ability to fly, but it survived happily under the trees that covered the island. Then, in the year 1507, the first Portuguese ships stopped at the island. The sailors were carrying spices back to Europe and found the island a convenient stopping place where they could stock up with food and water for the rest of the voyage, but they didn't settle on Mauritius. However, in 1638, the Dutch arrived and set up a colony there. These first human inhabitants of the island found the dodo birds a convenient source of meat, although not everyone liked the taste. It's hard to get an accurate description of what the dodo actually looked like. We do have some written records from sailors and a few pictures, but we don't know how reliable these are. The best-known picture is a Dutch painting in which the bird appears to be extremely fat, but this may not be accurate. An Indian painting done at the same time shows a much thinner bird. Although attempts were made to preserve the bodies of some of the birds, no complete specimen survives. In the early 17th century, 4 dried parts of a bird were known to exist. Of these, 3 have disappeared, so only one example of soft tissue from the dodo survives, a dodo head. Bones have also been found, but there's only one complete skeleton in existence. This single dodo skeleton has recently been the subject of scientific research, which suggests that many of the earlier beliefs about dodos may have been incorrect. For example, early accounts of the birds mention how slow and clumsy it was, but scientists now believe the bird's strong knee joints would have made it capable of movement which was not slow, but actually quite fast. In fact, one 17th century sailor wrote that he found the birds hard to catch. It's true that the dodo's small wings wouldn't have allowed it to leave the ground, but the scientists suggest that these were probably employed for balance while going over uneven ground. Another group of scientists carried out analysis of the dodo's skull. They found that the reports of the lack of intelligence of the dodo were not borne out by their research, which suggested the bird's brain was not small, but average in size. In fact, in relation to its body size, it was similar to that of the pigeon, which is known to be a highly intelligent bird. The researchers also found that the structure of the bird's skull suggested that one sense which was particularly well developed was that of smell. So the dodo may also have been particularly good at locating ripe fruit and other food in the island's thick vegetation.
Okay, let's have a look at the answers. So the first paragraph of the transcript is just an introduction. Then the date, 1507, the first Portuguese ship stopped at the island. Just as we predicted, these words were repeated. They were carrying or transporting spices. That's what we use in cooking. And if you've answered spice as an uncountable noun, it's correct too. Next, they didn't settle on Mauritius. However, again, the year 1638, and the Dutch arrived and set up a colony. To set up is to establish. Actually, if you answered a settlement, this is correct too, even though we haven't heard the word settlement. We've only heard the Portuguese didn't settle on Mauritius. Nevertheless, the meaning is the same and both answers are correct. Next, the Dutch painting, so these words are repeated, suggests the bird was fat. 34. The soft tissue that survives is a head. 35. The single dodo skeleton, so that's the word from our question. The answer is a bit further though. The bird's strong knee joints would have made it capable of movement, which was not slow, but actually quite fast. The word capable is repeated and rapid is replaced with fast. 36. Dodo's small wings wouldn't have allowed it to leave the ground. This means the bird couldn't fly. They were used for balance or balancing. Both are correct. 37. The bird's brain was not small but average in size. 38. Have you guessed that this is the sense of smell that how dodos find food? So, how many questions out of 8 could you answer? Let me know in the comments. Of course, it's easier to predict some answers than others, but for most of them, you can go as far as to figure out what kind of word you're looking for. If only you had enough time. And here is the next tip. I checked, and in the test, there was just enough time for me to read all the questions, not to analyze them. However, you get 30 seconds at the end of part 3 to review those answers. I think it's better to spend this time on reading questions from part 4. And if you include all the instruction time, you have almost 2 minutes you could spend on reading and analyzing questions from part 4. If you're wondering if you are allowed to switch between different parts of the listening test, yes, in both computer-based and paper-based IELTS, you can switch between different parts at any moment. What have we learned so far? Half of your IELTS listening score depends on just one type of question, filling the blanks. Parts 1 and 4 consist of questions of this type only. In parts 2 and 3, you can find 3 other types of questions. These are multiple choice questions and either a matching information task or a map. I have separate lessons about each of them. All the videos are linked in the description, but I would suggest starting with multiple choice questions. You can learn how to tackle them best and do some practice in this video here. Thank you so much for watching me today. Good luck with your preparation and your exam. Bye!